black white with some black kids, black car and a black crib, black owned, black ran, black woman and black man. Bet on black, bet on black, bet on black, bet on black.
Hey, y'all, gravity. Any day above ground, live it. It is Sunday when you hear this recording. And I swear, folks, I swear. It's not even the end of the year and everybody is coming at us. Everybody, which is fine. I want everybody to show up. Tell me who you are so I know how to deal with you. Because for the next 2 years, everybody's being put on notice. Y'all remember what Denzel said in Training Day. We putting cases on all you. I'm not going to curse because it's Sunday. I'm not going to curse. But I said today, let me do this show and bring out a presidential candidate. Now, I know y'all wish it was Trump or Biden or, Lord willing, command me. But we're not going to do that. They don't want to talk to me. I'll get a case put on me, which is fine. I don't care. But I do have somebody who is running in 2024, and she's running on a Freedman platform. And that means reparations, closing the border, and other things that we're going to get into. But I'm going to allow my guest to introduce herself. This is Ashaki Noni Nichols. And like I said, she's running for president in 2024. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and then we're going to get into it.
Well, hello, Kid Gravity. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon on Sunday. And hello to everyone out there that's listening. My name is Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I am running for president of the United States in 2024 as an independent candidate, currently independent, not a part of the independent party, but specifically independent. I know that I definitely have to have a party to run. You have to choose, not necessarily one side or the other, but you do have to choose a party. And right now I'm actually considering starting a party of my own to run under because, in my opinion, both parties have lost their way. I am the mother of 3 children. I'm currently married. I have a grandson. I reside in Georgia. Just a regular, ordinary person. I'm a paralegal, business owner. I saw that our country was extremely divided, especially with the last election in 2020. I didn't see anyone else really standing up for the values and the views that I found important. And so that is why I decided to run. A lot of times there are individuals that will run for political office and you really don't know who they are, what they're about. And I really want to be a grassroots candidate that can be relatable to the people. I think that it's time that we deserve a candidate that is an ordinary person, not a person that lives in the palace or has status or that has been in political office for 20 or 30 years and they're basically greasing hands and back scratching. We need somebody who has a fresh perspective, understands the Constitution, and is ready to fight for the American people. And so that is why I'm running.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But I like that you want to fight for the American people, but right now our people are needing the most help. Yes. But that's fine. You gotta put out that general message so white people feel comfortable. The next 2 years we're gonna make white people uncomfortable. White people is okay. Yes, unfortunately, white people. Let me talk to you because I know y'all gonna stumble into this because every time y'all see 2024 election, y'all get y'all's lukewarm coffee with no seasoning. That's right, folk. Just understand. I'm telling you a secret. White folk don't season their coffee. They do not. But they're gonna see this and they're gonna be like, "Ooh, we got another candidate." Okay, and then we get to talking. They hear what they say. They turn their nose up. because the R word shows up first, and that's
Mm,
reparations. Oh,
yeah.
family, when you were on, ma'am, do you know while you were suspended on Twitter, they went off on reparations, white folk?
Really? Wow,
Oh,
that's
white folk.
interesting.
Oh, Gavin Newsom, and I don't trust that asshole, but he said that he was giving out. They estimate $569 billion in. I don't call it reparations. I call it reconciliation for
Hmm.
descendants of American slavery, the black descendants, for housing discrimination. White people saw that tweet and lost their minds. They
Wow.
all thought it was the reparations national argument. It was hilarious. I was just sitting there going
Oh,
up and down the thread. Ma'am, I wish you were on Twitter. It would have been the funniest conversation you ever saw. They're like,
okay.
my family didn't own no slaves. Why should I pay? I was like, it clearly says housing discrimination.
Discrimination.
But this, yes, but
Yeah.
this is why the Democrats especially love the low information voter, because they don't read.
Mm,
They don't intake
yeah.
information. But how do you feel about what Gavin Newsom, that philandering piece of S, is doing?
Well, because I read part of it, and I think it's exclusive to California. I don't think it's
Correct. Right.
U.S.
Exclusive
wide.
to California. Right.
So when I saw that, I was like, well, that really doesn't impact everyone. And if it's housing discrimination, that's something where I'm not even sure how that would be executed, right? Because you can say, well, you own a house. Let's just say, for example, you own a house, your house is worth $1.2 million. They may give you a tax break for the next 10 years, right?
Mm.
That
Mm-hmm.
that's involved in that 569 billion. I'm just using that for example.
Correct.
However, it's not necessarily going to be a reparations payment. What it will
Correct.
be is almost like if you have a coupon and
Right. It's like a tax break.
it's like a rebate check, right? Okay, it's like,
Exactly.
well, we realize that we've done you wrong, and so we're going to discount you for the next 10, 20 years off of your property taxes in the form of housing discrimination for reparations. It's
Correct.
not necessarily a payment that's going to affect anybody else because they're all paying taxes. So I'm like I said, I don't know if that's what it is specifically. I'm just using that as an example. However, that's
Mm.
really not what we're looking for in reparations. We're looking for something
Exactly.
a little bit different. Wow, that's
Exactly.
interesting. Everybody just lost it. They were like, no, how dare you?
Yeah. I think it really started when they were watching Jeopardy with their unseasoned dinner and saw that reparations answer come up.
Yeah. And people really need to, when there's something that comes up, especially now that I'm running for president, that I've understood, if something comes up and I don't understand it, I really try to take the time to research it
Correct.
before I give a response, before I just have that knee jerk reaction, because
Right.
I need to understand where both sides are coming from. And definitely, when we're having this conversation about reparations, how it affects freedmen lineage based. And that's what no
Mm-hmm.
one's really looking at. They're really not looking at why are they having this conversation and where does this even stem from before I give a reaction. They're just reacting.
Right. Well, I don't care who don't like it. White people, something wrong with them. It's not that, but I get it. This is the age where we're in the. I'm only going to read the title. I'm not going to read the actual article.
Right.
I'm going to
Right.
rely on other people to tell me what that article says, and that's
Right.
not always the proper form to do things. Dum dums,
No.
dum
No,
dums.
you have to read everything, even the fine print today. My husband and I, we were actually having a conversation yesterday about hate speech and what that is. And so he asked me, he says, what do you think about hate speech? And I said, well, it's a made up term. It is something that people have come up with to define in a way to protect their feelings because it's
Mm-hmm.
arbitrary. It can be applied to whatever they want to. And if you use something in that context, it's not true. If it can't be applied universally, then it's propaganda. And so he read me the definition of hate speech. And I said, wow, that sounds a lot like racism, just a little bit different. And the only difference between hate speech and racism is that with hate speech, it's applying it to a group. With racism,
Right.
it's applying it to an individual or a group. However, when hate speech is used, it's usually used against an individual. So it's being used out of context. So that's why I was like, look, you can't do that.
Yeah,
Hate
everything hate
speech,
speech.
hate, people need to get out of their feelings. We live in a world of you can express yourself. You can't live by your feelings because if you are in an emotional state and you make a long-term decision, you're going to make a bad decision every time
Yes,
because you're
ma'am.
not thinking clearly. You're not thinking what's going to happen down the road, what the next step is going to be after I actually make this lifetime decision. And a lot of people are living in that. And it's unfortunate because they are told to do that. They're said, you need to live by your feelings and emotions, and people can't tell you what to do. This is how you feel. This is your truth. This is your stance, your belief. It's like, hold on. If it's not factual, please don't base a lifetime decision on your emotions because you're going to wake up the
Correct.
next day saying, what did I do? Why am I here? What is
Mm,
this? So
yes, ma'am. All right. Now, before we get into your platform and your policies, would you like to laugh real fast?
go ahead.
Okay. Now, I live in Georgia as well,
Okay.
and we have the Senate race. Now,
Yes.
off top, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a sitting senator and you let a former football player who is not the most articulate person who whips out, unfortunately, during a debate where he was told not to pull out props, he whips out one of these and gets endorsements from Donald Trump and the video that I'm about to play, and you're struggling, I don't think you're qualified, sir.
Mm,
If you let this man right here get away with saying this on Fox News and you're struggling so much so that you need Obama to come down here to come save you and Nancy Pelosi, we have an issue, sir.
First of all, this election is more than Herschel Walker. This election is about the people. And I said, this is we the people, not we the government.
You let this man go on Fox News and say erection, and he's trended for 3 days off that one comment.
hmm
And you're a pastor, sir.
Yeah.
You can't say nothing to me. That fool on the screen is going to be my senator for 6 years.
Yeah.
You're in Georgia as well. How do you feel about this race?
Um, it's a choice between being shot or poisoned. It's just how do you want to die? Do you want to die
Right,
immediately or slowly?
right.
This is not an election where individuals are voting for someone, they're voting against. Either way,
Mm-hmm.
you're either
Mm-hmm.
voting against Herschel Walker because you think um, Reverend Warnock is going to do well, or vice versa. We really were not given great choices. My
Nope.
stance on Reverend Warnock may be a little bit different than others. I actually reached out to him and his team right around the time where he was elected, and I had an issue with one of the bills that he supported. Let's say it was SR 393, where it talked about actually giving basically civil rights to transgendered individuals, writing them into the civil rights
Mm-hmm.
law. And part of it talked about you have to believe someone even if it's not true. That was one area. And then there was another area where it specified even if it's not true, you still have to believe it. My problem with either one is anytime you're asking me to believe something, that falls under religion. That's a belief system, plain and simple. I'm a paralegal, so I do take things in a literal sense. So looking at that, I wrote to him and I said, as a pastor, how can you support something saying you have to believe something even if it's not true? You should not write into law that people have to believe anything. It's one thing to respect people. It's one thing to say you cannot discriminate against an individual. It's another thing to say you have to believe because we have freedom of religion in this country. And so to write something and to propose it be put into law, luckily this hasn't passed yet, but to propose something like that to be put into law clearly violates our First Amendment rights. His response to me was, and I'm paraphrasing, was basically, well, we need to really embrace other people, and we really, basically the kumbaya moment.
Oh no, they spiked her. Here we go. Here we go. Warnock's people, 2 days before the midterm runoff, they don't like dissenting opinions. Here we go. But yeah, family, this is what they do, which kind of sucks. So while I'm waiting for her to come back, let's see who's in it. But she's back already. That's what I'm talking about.
Hello?
Warnock people don't like you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
it's all
totally dropped
good.
out. But
Yeah, Warnock
so
people don't like you.
yeah, so unfortunately, just to make that point, him being a pastor saying that, and like I said, this bill is in clear violation of the First Amendment. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. So for you to call yourself a pastor, first and foremost, and you're supporting transgenderism, and a lot of people aren't going to like this, that's a no. Those two things don't go together. Now, as a politician, if he were, let's say, not a pastor, right, person of faith, and he wanted to toe the line as a politician and say, well, I'm doing this because I'm trying to go for people's rights. Okay, but you are a pastor. You are a man of the cloth. So you're telling me that when you go to church, you're telling your flock that it's okay to do this. Now, there are going to be a lot of people from the LGBT community that are not going to like what I have to say on this. No, 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 no. There are people that are going to be transgender. That's totally fine. But when you ask me to believe something that isn't true, that's something I'm not going to do. That's the part and issue I have problems with. If you want to be transgender, that's fine. Live your life. You have the right to do that. But don't ask me to believe something that's not true. And then write a law telling me that forces me to do it. So, yeah.
Isn't that the same argument they use when we try to tell them that we need an anti-black hate crime bill?
They try.
That we flaw so much that we don't have any problems. We're just projecting on what happened in the past.
Well, we actually need an anti-black hate crime bill mainly because freedmen were never given protective rights.
Yes, ma'am.
Within the United States after slavery. Unfortunately, freedmen were just kind of left to the wolves, so to speak, and to fend for themselves. And they did. And they were prosperous and they flourished. And when they were cut down as if they should have not attained and accomplished what they did after being tossed to the winds, so to speak. So we definitely need an anti-black hate crime bill. Just very similarly, they passed the Emmett Till bill, and I noticed the one thing in the bill, it covers races, and I'm like, this is one bill where you should have said specifically
we black
it
people.
Affects freedmen,
right?
Freedmen, right, and other minorities. And then people would say, well, who are freedmen? And then they would have looked and said, oh, you mean the descendants of slaves? Yes. These are the people that were lynched. These were the people that they actually basically had flyers for to come out and view an event. They viewed it as amusement to lynch people in public and then cut off their body parts and sell them for souvenirs. That that was sick. But it happened in our country. It happened in our nation's history. You can research them in the flyers. These things are true. And the bad part is because history has been erased and rewritten and washed of the accuracies and the atrocities that people don't want to deal with, that's why people have that attitude. You guys don't need it. You're doing fine. Why are we bringing this up? What's the problem? So that's why I'm definitely running on a reparations platform and an anti-Black hate crime bill platform, because it's time someone stood up for it. No one wants to say the hard things in politics. They just want it to be all flowers and roses, and some people want to say things that are very bombastic to get themselves attention. But nobody really wants to say what needs to be said and get the work done. And so that's why I'm running.
Yes, ma'am. All right, let's get into that platform so we can educate the family. Let me just blow this up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we're on your website and we're on platforms and policies.
Yes.
So you said God, family, education, and health. And your policies are reparations, immigration, voting rights, anti-Black hate crime bill, Juneteenth, economy, education, healthcare, housing, gun safety, marijuana legalization. So already off rip, this is not a cookie cutter Democrat or Republican website. So shout out to you on that.
Thank you.
Because we already know what those are. They look fancy as hell, but they all say the same thing, which is not true. None of it. But yeah, let's start with the R word. Let's start there. See, you could tell this is a freedom. It's creative as hell. I already know this. I mean, I'm looking at it. Like, it looked like somebody really took their time to put this out there.
Yeah, that was me.
I like this.
That was me.
There you go. Together. There you go. Potential president that does everything. See, that's what I'm talking about. There was an Obama joke there. I was going to leave that alone. No, I'm not going to do that to that man. Not today. Maybe later. We'll see. Well, let's talk about reparations.
Yeah.
All right, so here we are. I like how you brought up HR 40 and that. I saw the name of the person who sponsored the bill. I'm going to leave her alone.
Right.
Can't stand her, but I'm gonna be respectful. But people know the nickname I have for her on this platform. Be respectful.
Okay.
Because this is about you, not her. So you said what you would like to see in a potential reparations bill. Well, not potential, but one that's drafted.
Right.
So you said, 1, establish the Reparations Reserve Act similar to the Federal Reserve Act to establish a bank similar to the central bank that would be accessible to descendants of freedmen, where the funds for reparations would be deposited and managed. All right. Let's hear a little bit more about that.
Yes. So the way we have the Federal Reserve Act, it established the Federal Reserve Bank that we have now, and then the central banks that are throughout the United States, where the money goes once it's printed from the U.S. Treasury. And that's just part of what they do. What I want is a way, once reparations are paid, we have a bank. It's not Bank of America. It's not Wells Fargo. It's not Chase Bank. It's the Freedmen Bank, which was actually established in South Carolina. And that's where the funds should go through for this Reparations Act. What I don't want to happen, I don't want people to be just given money. It's more than just being given money. It's money, it's protections, it's land, it's education, it's health care, it's all encompassing, so that descendants of freedmen can not necessarily pick up where their forefathers left off, but they can actually establish roots in the country where our forefathers planted those roots, and actually start to grow and flourish generationally, so that this is perpetual and it isn't just money to be given to people to just throw away. There'll be education, financial education behind it, investment education behind it. So we're not just, as I say, giving money to just throw away or just to put back out there, but it can actually be done in a way so that we're leaving that generational wealth for our children, grandchildren, and so forth.
Okay. Um, you said established within the Reparations Act that slavery is over, that freedmen and their descendants are reconstructed as equals in this country, and that black people can no longer be treated as enslaved people. Descendants of freed black Americans will be treated equally to all men and women within the United States.
Yes.
Cool.
That's not
You're
in the
gonna piss off a whole
Constitution.
bunch of corporations with that one.
I'm aware,
Yeah, yes,
but
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
but it wasn't given. If you look back in our history, if you even read our Constitution, you don't find anywhere in there where it
Mm-hmm.
sets us actually free as freedmen, and that you can no longer treat us as a slave. And it was done purposely, unfortunately. So
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Let's go. Number 3, establish a federal anti-black hate crime bill within the act to specifically include black men, women, and children. States specifically that descendants of freedmen can no longer be lynched, according to the Emmett Till bill. All
yeah.
right. You might get some of the black liberals over there on that. But okay. Da-da-da-da. Get an application process for lineage-based descendants of freedmen that can show their connection to slavery via ancestry. So is that the Freedmen's Bureau or is
Yes,
that something different?
that would
Okay.
be through the Freedmen Bureau. This will be lineage based. So, in essence,
Okay.
just because somebody is of a particular melanin in skin doesn't necessarily mean that they are a descendant of freedmen.
Right. So it can't
So,
be a
there will
Nigerian
be a
that just came over
distinction.
here from Houston. So it can't be a Nigerian that just moved to Houston 2 years ago.
No, sir. No,
All
sir.
right. Just making
So,
sure.
right. For example, my father, on his side of the family, he traced it back 150 years. So I know that I am descendant of a freedman. He traced it all the way back to our plantation owners. My maiden name is Wright. That is a slave name. Now, on my grandmother's side, even though her great grandfather, he was a slave, he didn't know his first name, he didn't know his record date of birth. There's nothing to trace it back to his necessarily slave owner, descendant wise and lineage wise. So, would my grandmother get reparations? No, she wouldn't. But my father would,
Mm,
based on that
okay.
that information. Everyone will, in essence, benefit, but they're not necessarily going to get the
A
financial.
direct payment.
Right.
Right. Okay. The amount of reparations will be established by financial leaders in the freedmen community and agreed upon by the lineage-based descendants of freedmen entitled to reparations. This will be the start of reparations. Kind of have like a spelling error here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Ah,
That. Yeah, right here. But
you,
you know,
sorry about that.
you ain't got no team, so we'll give you grace. You have no
Thank
team.
you.
Yes, ma'am. That will evolve to include other ideas to get respectable compensation to descendants of freemen. Pay these people their money already. Jesus Christ. I don't get it. Y'all see these conversations every day, and y'all don't even say y'all make an overture and just say, listen, what do y'all need?
Yeah.
But Biden was supposed to do that 2 years ago, folks. But
Yeah.
the Biden sexuals, they were on Washington D.C. and New York City and Chicago. They were dancing because Trump was gone, which I still contend that you fools should have just voted him back in, and you would have been done with him in 2 years. You could have had a whole month-long party, well, 6-week party. No, I tell a lie, 10-week party until he got out of office. But nah, y'all wanted to be the smartest people in the room. Now look what we got. Y'all ready for that crash next year in
Ugh,
January? Y'all ready for that?
no.
Get your beans ready. All right. Now, here's another hot button topic that the freedmen and those that are on code have been talking about: shutting down that damn border. Because we know historically the border does not favor black folks. We know this. When the border is
Uh,
closed, we go and take this country for everything that it is, rightly so. When the borders
yeah.
are open, they dump them off everywhere black people are in large numbers. And then they say, oh, well, they needed places to stay. And then they take over our neighborhoods. Never going to put them in them white areas because you know what would happen.
Oh no. No, they're not staying in Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, hell no.
Absolutely, unless they're
And we're
working
down here in
there.
Georgia. You know damn well he ain't going to drop them off in no Buckhead.
No, no,
Mm.
not never. Maybe Bankhead.
Alpharetta? What about Alpharetta?
Oh, not a thing. That's not a thing. No, maybe Norcross. Maybe Duluth.
Maybe Norcross. Well, there's a lot of Latinos out there in Gwinnett County for those who don't know. But
Yes.
let's see what's the other one? Sandy Springs.
Oh no, I used to live
Mm.
there. Mm-mm, that's not a thing. Nope.
What about Holly Springs?
Nope. Oh no.
Oh
Really?
no.
Really? Going towards White County? I don't think so. There is a
Oh yeah.
county called White County in Georgia for everyone
Yes,
listening.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, they drop them off in Fairburn Family. They
Yes.
drop them off like she said in Bankhead. Oh, did you know they're gonna gentrify Bankhead now?
They are starting. Yes, I
Yes,
have seen
ma'am.
that. I have seen that, unfortunately.
College Point is about to be lost, folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Unfortunately.
And not a peep from Monica and Sierra, but it's another subject for another day. I get it. It's right next to the airport. I get it. It's
Yeah.
prime real estate. I get it. But
Yeah.
East Point, y'all next. I hope y'all know that. Y'all are next.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, but it says our borders are closed. Shut that damn border and build a wall. We have the right to close our borders. There is current legislation S4948 in the Senate to allow states to deport illegal citizens. I support this legislation. However, it does not go far enough. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go on. I ain't even gonna read it. Go ahead.
Okay,
I want the
so
freedmen to hear who wants to represent them on that debate stage because we got to get you on that debate stage.
so I'm looking at a 10-year plan, and our borders need to be shut down for a minimum of 10 years. If this will
Mm.
allow a minimum of 10 years, this will allow for individuals to be apprehended that are illegal citizens of this country and their children who have been here for 10 years. So it's going to be retroactive, not there going forward, if that makes sense.
Oh
So,
Lord.
yeah, we're going back 10 years. So if your child is now 10 years old and they were born here, they're going back to where they came with you, their parent who broke the law to get here. Everybody's leaving. So that's the first
Damn,
thing.
you evicting the dog too?
Everybody's going, man.
Lord
Everybody.
have mercy.
The
She gonna send the fish back to wherever they never were.
Look, the parakeets and the hamsters, everybody's leaving.
Lord, even the
You're not.
snakes.
Yes, you're not staying. You're not staying. This will allow for those individuals to be removed along with a moratorium on any HB1 visas and any chain migration that goes along with those visas. So there will no longer have HB1 visas issued. And anyone who has an HB1 visa, they will not be allowed to bring any of their family members over. This will also allow for those that have applied for legal immigration status to finish their legal immigration status because it does sometimes take time and it does sometimes take individuals anywhere from 5 to 10 years to become a naturalized citizen of the United States. Along with that, I want to make sure that while our borders are closed, that we take the time to build up our country and to make sure that we are not letting anyone in. And anyone that was born here during that retroactive 10-year period, they will not have citizenship to the United States. It will be denied. For those that came here to birth their children so their children could have dual citizenship. And this actually goes to those who are from Asia, Asianic countries, because it's not just China that does it. So that's why I say Asianic countries that will come over here, have their children, and then go back to their home country, but now their child has dual citizenship as that point of origin, along with being United States citizens. They will be denied citizenship, henceforth, perpetual. So they will no longer be able to apply for citizenship here in the United States, nor will it be granted if they were born within that window of that retroactive 10 years. So, any other questions? Oh, I'm not playing. We have the right to shut down our borders, period.
That D was not for you not playing. I mean,
Oh,
laying that out like you did. This is what is sorely lacking from these elected officials. Really going back to saying something and explaining it.
yeah.
Like, don't be saying just buzzwords because your low information voter will gravitate to it and the trolls. Really lay out the plan. Because once you lay the plan out, people can actually have the critical thinking skills. They're like, okay, you know what? That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the border right now, family, if you're not on board with this, just go back and look at the video of what happened in Del Rio. They don't want melanated people in this country. But then you go to Eagle Pass, Texas, and they're in one line, single file, going across that border, no problem. And the government's not doing nothing. But a bunch of Haitian kids are on a boat. Coast Guard gets them, sends them right back. But we know if it was Tony Montana and them, they were like, okay, come in, essay. It's all good. Go hide out in Miami for a couple of years.
Right. It's unfortunate. And it's replacement migration, and they talk about it on the United Nations website. The information is there.
Don't even get me started with that, because I can't wait to do that Rumble stream about the United Nations. Y'all gonna be sick.
Oh yeah, it's sad.
But yeah, maybe. Well, I wouldn't do that to your platform. I would ask if you wanted to come in and speak on that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sabotage your hopes and your ambitions. I'm not going to do that. No.
Okay.
I mean, you can leave me an email later, and when you get in, I can read it, because once you're elected, they can't do nothing to you. Maybe, but this is the U.S. government. They always find a loophole. But you said close it for 10 years. That's almost a whole generation. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm a child of immigrants, but, I mean, they came in the correct way.
Right. And that's the slap in the face to those who have done it the right way and have, basically paid their dues to become naturalized citizens, to then have someone come over here illegally and be given everything, and they've broken the law. No, we are a nation of laws. And because of that, we have to apply the law and apply it equally.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So your next thing was voting rights.
Yeah.
There was one thing I didn't like in there. You said online vote. Well, I thought, you know what? I'm sorry. I thought it said vote, be able to vote online. Because I'm like, that's crazy, because we already know that's going to be the end of voting. But make available online voter registration. So not every state does that?
Some states do, some states don't. It depends on where you are.
Okay.
It really does.
So you want it across the board?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is the bill as it stands that's
Right.
in Washington. That's
Right.
what they're proposing.
Right.
What I was against is the same day voter registration,
Yeah, that's
mainly
crazy.
because that doesn't allow vetting time
Hmm.
and you don't know who's actually, eligible to vote or not. And that was really contentious in this past election because individuals that were illegal here illegally, they were
Hmm.
given driver's licenses. Well, if you have a driver's license,
You can
whenever
go vote.
somebody goes there, you automatically get registered to vote. And so what you're actually doing is you're helping individuals that are here illegally vote in our elections. And that's not right. I can't go to England and vote in their election. That's not a thing. And I definitely can't be there illegally saying I'm a citizen and vote in their election. Like that's not
Right.
a thing. And it shouldn't happen here. And that's what I don't want.
Okay. I hear you.
Yeah.
And I'm here with Ashaki. I'm saying that right, right?
Yeah. Yep. You're good.
Ashaki Noni Nichols, who is running for president in 2024. Because Lord knows if we get her on that debate stage with Trump and I do want to ask you this after I said Trump and Biden.
Yes.
You know that's going to be chaos.
It will be very interesting to
Yes.
be on the stage with either man because you've got one who's been a lifetime politician, you've got another one who's been a CEO most of his adult life. And Trump tends to be very boisterous um, and interesting. I'll say that he knows how to get people's attention through his words. Where Biden, he is a tad bit more measured, and we have seen him kind of slip up and say things that he may not necessarily say. So
Like
it would
throwing out
definitely
some
be,
amount under pressure.
yeah, saying, there is a new world order and then everybody trying to walk it back.
Right.
So,
Or if you don't know if you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they gonna put y'all back in cages.
You know,
I mean, put y'all
just,
back in chains.
right, just random stuff. So,
Yeah. The reason I was able to stay sequestered during the scamdemic was because black woman was stocking the grocery shelves, and then the next sentence said the dreamers and the Latinos were the nurses and doctors.
hmm, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that. It might be a replay of the Georgia debate.
Wow. That was
Oh, that
interesting. I watched
wasn't
that.
it?
I
Oh,
was
I
like,
was
okay.
streaming it. The family, they know I was streaming it. We had so much fun that night.
I was like, wow. Okay. Here we go.
Oh yes. But we're going to move on to the hate crime bill and the
Hmm.
Juneteenth bill.
Sorry, I have another
Now,
typo, you guys. It should be
there
anti, not
is.
ain't. Yeah. This
Oh,
is
Annette
ain't.
Bell. Yeah,
Yes, it's
Annette
Anna.
Black.
And it's supposed to be
She's
anti,
by
guys. I will
herself,
fix that.
family. She's by herself, family. If anybody wants to help her, get in touch with her. Help her out. But yeah, the anti-black hate crime bill. This is contentious. This is another contentious topic because
Hmm.
we've been screaming for this for years.
Yeah.
And it's gotten so bad, family. We are not even involved in certain events,
Hmm.
like what happened here in Georgia last February when
Yeah.
those Asian women got killed by the crazy white boy because he was what the word is, the phrase, sexually frustrated.
Yeah.
And they got $50 million and anti-hate legislation and a task force.
Interestingly enough, in a COVID package. I was like, what?
Whoa, we don't say that word.
Okay,
Gotta
sorry.
be careful with that
In
word. You could
in
say
the
coffee
C
venereal
package.
disease. You could say
Okay,
coffee venereal disease.
in that we'll say in that bill during that time.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. And if you want to say the V word, we say Belle Biv DeVoe.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So yes, we weren't even involved in that and they got legislation.
Yeah.
Then we also saw what happened with Brother Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
He tweets out a link and Kathy Hochul up in New York, my old state, gives the real estate agents legislation to protect them from anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
But we just had not only a little baby called LaMelo get deleted by the cops because of his dad, but we just had Derek Hitting down in Louisiana get deleted via a headshot by a cop. And when we say, hey, can we get some legislation to protect black people on this, or at least give us a fighting chance to get some kind of protection, we're wrong. They're about to put Atiana Jefferson's killer on the stand, and we already know it's Texas. They're going to find some way to get him off.
Wow.
And all we've asked is give us the same thing that you give to every other group out here.
Right.
And you'll hear less noise, but y'all don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anti-black hate crime bill. It's going to put a lot of people out of business. We already know this. The cops ain't going to have nothing to do.
Yeah. We need one that's specific. Mainly because, like we said earlier in this conversation, in America, blacks, yes, freedmen were freed. However, there is not legislation in place to say that you can no longer treat freedmen as slaves. And because that's not specifically stated, freedmen have been treated disproportionately throughout our history from that time. So we can be disproportionately treated and not have a voice. So that's why we need an anti-black hate crime bill specifically to eradicate the wrong.
Right. And please just educate the folk, because I know there's going to be somebody out there that said Juneteenth is a national holiday. Would you please explain to them that it's not?
Okay, so it is not a national holiday. It has been recognized throughout the years, and the scale gets larger and larger, but it is not a federal holiday, and it should be, because it actually states where there were slaves in Texas that didn't know. Almost a century went by before they knew that they were free. So we need to recognize that and be stewards of that. We are freedmen for a reason, and we really need to make sure that we honor that and celebrate it.
So for all you wannabes who think you're smarter than Mrs. Nichols and myself, Juneteenth is not a federally recognized holiday. Just because you saw the post office get happy they'll have a day off does not mean that it's federally recognized.
Yeah.
If it was federally recognized in 2 years when it lands on a Monday, you guys can take off from school. Well, you won't be in school then, unless you're doing, standardized testing.
Yeah. You always know when the banks are closed. When they close
Yeah.
the banks, that's when we arrived. The banks are closed. If the banks aren't closed, we haven't arrived yet.
Right. And my internet decides to go out that day. But we're still here, family. No, it's on me. It's on me. That was on me. But yes, family. So there's that. And by the way, it was not lost on me that all of a sudden Juneteenth gets recognized and all the corporations start their shilling Juneteenth specials.
Of course.
Oh, yes. Shout out to Popeyes for their Juneteenth special. Shout out to them. $6.19. Y'all ain't. It's Sunday. Yeah. But this is good. Now, you have something under economy that I want to touch on called the fair tax. And it's something you're proposing that it be a national sales tax that treats every person equally and allows American businesses to thrive while generating the same tax revenue as the current 4 million word plus tax code. And I have read it, folks. My head hurt after like 3 paragraphs. Under the fair tax, every person living in the United States pays a sales tax on purchases of new goods and services, excluding necessities due to the prebate payment. In addition, the fair tax rate after conditions is 23% compared to combining the 15% income tax bracket with the 7.65% of employee payroll taxes under the current system. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I had a similar thought as well. I said that everyone should pay. Well, mine was a little lower. It wasn't at 23. I think mine was. I think I had it at 18.
Okay.
But you know, Florida and Texas and Washington and Tennessee, they be and Nevada, they be happy as hell because they don't pay no tax, so they be happy as hell with that.
Right.
I'm like, great, y'all can go to all them states and deal with the you know, the Hewless over there. That's what I call white people. You get to go deal with them and their politics that you won't be a part of. Have fun. Resend executive orders. Another way to boost our economy is to resend executive orders that affect our economy. Here are some suggestions below. Opening the Keystone Pipeline. You get a big clap for that. Because that's always going to be ingrained in me. That brother who brought a brand new truck and said he voted for Biden and then found out Biden was cutting the Keystone Pipeline. And he didn't know how he was going to pay for his mortgage and his new truck.
Yep.
Bringing back the 10,000 jobs eliminated by executive order. But, you know, that's your man's. Resend executive orders affecting the fossil fuel industry negatively. So for all you electric vehicle nuts, guess what? You're going to be paying more than you pay for gas. I promise you. When you buy your nice Tesla or your nice, you know, American or Japanese car with the electric engine, your electric bill will go up.
Yeah.
Because that grid is going to be more concentrated.
Yeah.
I told y'all this. The battery for all you environmental Captain Planet types. That battery cannot be broken down. It takes 99 years for it to fully decompose. So you want that in the environment. All right. You know, Kwame and them be pissed off at you, but all right. Hey, have y'all seen all those videos and pictures of Teslas blowing up unexpectedly?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, family, did you know this? I know your news doesn't tell you this. Do you know that dealerships are refusing to buy back Teslas?
Yeah.
And pretty soon they're going to start refusing to buy back electric vehicles. So ask yourself this, family. What are they going to do with them cars? There's going to be an electric vehicle graveyard within 10 years. I promise you. And here we go. We got ourselves a troll. Yeah, your private photo. Sure. Take that to your mama. I'm sure she wants to see your private photos. Anyway, sorry about that. Education. Oh, yes. And shout out to all the black families pulling their kids out of school. I love it. So you said trade school / business education starting in 9th grade.
Yes.
Right.
It's never too early to start training children how the world works and how to start a business, how to operate a balance sheet, how to operate a business, how to develop their own materials. So we really need to start educating them when they hit high school in the 9th grade. You know, life after high school doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to college. If you desire to go to college, that's fine. But they should be getting their college education while they're in high school. So they are ready to be successful adults once they graduate. We should not be sending individuals into life and into the workforce starting over, in a sense. So yes, I want them to be more equipped.
I think we should start in 6th grade.
That works as well. It's never too early to start.
Never too early.
Never too early.
Yeah. I did a nursing class in 7th grade. Never too early. There's no reason why when these kids graduate that their only sole option is either to go get a low paying job or go to college and get yourself in debt.
Right.
And all these technical jobs need to be filled.
Right.
But
Because they actually have programs where they teach STEM in their government contracts that will teach STEM. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about how in Florida there's this one organization. I guess they received a government contract and they were able to take their students that knew Spanish and English and teach them STEM in a bilingual way. And I was like, wow, okay, this should be open to all communities, definitely the freedmen community, to learn these skills at such an early level. But it's one of those things, if you don't know, nobody's looking. So
Yes,
those
ma'am.
things need to be brought to the forefront and shared so we have a successful workforce, and not just a workforce, an ownership force. We should not just be teaching our kids, hey, you have to work for somebody else. It's like, no, you shouldn't play for the football team, own the football team and run it. That's
Say it
what we
again.
should be teaching them. Not
Yes.
just, not just to be the coach. Own the team, own the
Yes,
franchise.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You know?
Like my brother Black Alpha always says, the NFL is a $1 billion plantation.
Mm-hmm. It really
So,
is.
yeah. And that's outside of the NBA, one of the only other sports where you don't see any black ownership anywhere. Highest a black person can get there is probably in the front office, but they're not in that owner inner circle.
Right. Right. Very true.
Yeah. But, they got the Rooney rule.
Mm.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
Interesting. No.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, let's continue. You put investigation of superintendents and schools for adult-feelers hired to teach children.
Yeah.
That's my word for it because I ain't saying the P word on here because then YouTube shut me down.
Right.
These
Understood.
individuals need to be removed for being an accessory to a crime and brought to justice for those they have victimized. And I like how you highlighted there were 2 bills in Congress that did not pass.
Yes.
Because they want our kids to be desensitized, and that first one pissed me off because it was 6 years ago, and they still haven't put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it was for the real estate agents, we already know that would pass by tomorrow. They would convene a special session before they go on Christmas break to make sure that they get their legislation passed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Healthcare. Yes, ma'am. I love the first sentence. And the emergency use authorization.
Yeah. It
Now,
definitely.
that's partly the reason why I left New York during
Understood.
the scamdemic.
Right. Understood.
Right. And 2 years later, they still haven't moved.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Because the unfortunate part is if it is ended, there's going to be a lot of litigation behind it because the protections will be gone. And it's under the EUA is how they've wielded power. And unfortunately, behind that, the American people have lost their rights. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Shout out to New York, because if New York has to follow through with that Supreme Court judge saying that they have to pay back pay to all those New York City workers, plus give them their jobs back. Whoa. The entire country. Texas is Houston. Y'all about to be bankrupt. The amount of nurses and doctors y'all fired in Houston alone.
Yeah.
Some of them, they could get together and make their own hospital.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's not even get into California. But we know what's going to happen once it gets closer to the election. They're gonna blame the orange man for all this. This was his fault. It was his baby. Fraud. She gonna come outside and say, "Hey, I just did what the president told me to do.
Yeah.
This, that, and the third." And family, I need y'all not to fall for that.
Yeah. Because if
When
you
they
actually
tell
go
you
back
that,
and yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say when you actually go back and look at documentation, this has been going on since maybe 2010, 2012,
Mm-hmm.
or earlier, maybe about 2005, 2006.
Mm-hmm.
But implementation started about around 2012. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. We don't talk who was in power then. We're gonna leave
Mm.
that alone.
Yes, sir.
We're going to leave that alone. I'll save that for Rumble. Housing. Work with companies to provide equitable housing for all. Baltimore, I'm gonna need y'all. I know y'all voted in that Coon Westmore, so y'all about to have 4 years of hell. But black millionaires in Baltimore, I know y'all out there. I'm gonna need y'all to buy up all them row houses for white people get to it.
Yeah.
They could what they charging? They charging between 50 and 200,000. Let's go.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cannon Hotep. He down there in Baltimore. He knows. Get down there and buy up them row houses. And this is what I want y'all to do, because I know there's blocks that have row houses. They're all burnt out. Maybe one or two people still live there. Make those gated communities. Build up those areas. Put the shops in there, black owned, preferably. Get
Yep.
some gates. Hire the security. Hire your own HOA people. And get, because we got all these homeless people too, and we got all these young people that want to live in homes, and y'all want to claim that Maryland is like the best place for black business. Okay, that's a lie. It's Atlanta, but still, do your thing. Make Baltimore a hub for black business. A second one. It's not that hard. It'll take, honestly, maybe $100 million. That's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
And build Baltimore up. The most attractive part of Baltimore should not be the waterfront.
Okay.
But y'all got it. I'll trust you. And I say that facetiously because y'all voted Kwesi Mfume into office, so I'm going to be quiet. But let's talk about housing. So you said work with homeowners to get their patents on their homes and land so they own it.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that even once they pay the deed to the home, they still don't own the land.
Right.
So they have to go through the process of actually getting the patent for the land. And it can be received by the individual that bought the property. However, we have not received the education on that. And so that education needs to be brought forth.
Build more homes. Supply and demand are causing the price increase.
Yeah. Part of that, the supply and demand. The other part of it is our wages aren't keeping up
Exactly.
with the cost of living. There's a huge gap there.
Provide homeless shelters with programs for transitional housing. And also vocational training. I think you should add that to that too.
Okay.
Provide long-term care housing for those with mental illness. Yes. Provide care housing treatment for those with addictions. Yes. They shouldn't all have to go to halfway houses where there's no stimulation for them to get better.
Right.
But we know why they do that. That's purposeful.
So it's circular. Right.
Provide care housing for the elderly. Yes. We can do that. Actually, can you expand on that a little bit for those who don't know?
Care and housing for the elderly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So it's not just a nursing home, but unfortunately, a lot of our senior citizens that are in, I would say, the 60 to 80 year age range, they suffer from homelessness the most, or housing insecurity the most, because their social security can't keep up with it, or they don't necessarily have the retirement funding to provide them with housing. And so we need to make sure that we are housing our elderly and that we are taking care of our elderly population. And so they're not on the street, or they're not in desperate situations where they have to live. And I definitely don't want everybody just put into a nursing home, because unfortunately, some nursing homes are not the safest places for our elderly, and they're taken advantage of, unfortunately,
Mm,
by the people that work there, by the administrators. So,
mm.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I have to ask you something after we finish this.
Okay.
Well, actually, I guess I could ask you now because we were in economy. So,
That's okay.
um, what I call him, the dumbass in chief. He just put out a tweet 5 hours ago. Said gas prices have declined by an average of $1.60 a gallon over the past 173 days. They're now back to the levels they were at in early February. That's great news. Why does this man lie so much?
Well, you have to play the game. You have to have the accordion sense of control, right? Right now, everything is loose and it's expanded so that people are like, oh, we got a breather. We can finally, take a breath. Don't think for a moment that it's not going to come crushing back down on you. The plan is to get you off of your feet, to get you not paying attention to what's going on, to make you relax like the boiling frog in the water. Don't think for a second that this individual has your back. They do not. They've shown you who they are. Believe them. So
This guy
I'll leave
pisses
it
me
there.
off.
I'll leave it there.
This guy makes me so mad. Why would you say this? First, remember when he said, "Hey, I'm not in charge of the gas prices." He said this.
He did. He did, and he
Now
didn't sit
now it
down at
goes
the
down.
table with the companies. He's like, my team's going to
Exactly.
negotiate that. I'm not doing that. Really? Okay.
Right.
All right.
But then when
Gotcha.
they go down, you take credit
Oh.
for it going down. But you were the same dude who a month ago was getting yelled at by the Saudis for trying to change and negotiate barrels and lower prices before the midterms.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I hate I hate this man. I really hate this man.
He is a
The
true
man who,
politician.
oh my God. Must be nice. Anyway,
Yeah.
must be nice. And lastly, work with Congress to create laws that will not allow companies to purchase homes and or entire subdivision. BlackRock is going to come for you.
I understand it. That's
I
fine, but
feel
they
you.
should not be able to.
Right.
Yeah.
Home ownership should be for owners, not for companies to own properties and rent them. Yeah. They're going to
Yeah.
come for you.
Hmm. Because that's the new business model.
Yes, ma'am.
And that shouldn't be. That's not why we have the American dream of home ownership in this country. It is home ownership. It is not home rentership. That's perpetual. That's not what this is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Uh the uh the next section is going to be very, very controversial. Gun
Sure.
safety. Now we know how the Second Amendment is viewed in this country, but
Right.
your first line, your first sentence says, "Bring gun education back into the schools."
Hmm.
The liberals are going to come for your neck.
Okay, that's fine.
Say less. That's the answer. That's a presidential answer. That's a bad. Imagine we had a president he'd be like, well, Madam Nichols, why why are you talking about bring gun education back into schools and we've had all these mass shootings? Like, well, hey, guess what? If they had gun education, maybe the student takes out the person. Maybe the
Right,
teacher takes out the person. The principal doesn't sit and just call the cops. The principal calls the cops, unlocks the code, gets the gun, and takes the shooter out.
right.
That
Or
way
the
we don't have
gun,
another Uvalde.
right. Or they would be afraid to go into school in the first place because they know everybody in there is educated
That's what, and
and
that's what
ready.
I, exactly. And that's what I've always advocated for New York City to relax their gun laws
Yeah,
because you're going to have less crime if people don't know who's strapped.
exactly. That's right. That's right.
But I got called crazy for that. They said, oh, New York's going to become the Wild West. I'm like, really? Sure about that. Why don't you try it? Go look at them red states and you tell me where people were able to own guns, how many people were getting were trying to elevate themselves on the back of somebody else and they tried it and what happened.
Right, right. Because you don't really hear about this. I mean, not that anybody's checking out the news in Davos, Switzerland. However, they have some liberal gun laws. And what I mean by that is everybody has their gun education and everybody knows how to deploy a weapon and they have respect for those weapons. You don't hear about a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mass shootings because people know, oh, I'm not going to try it because people
Yeah.
here will take me out if I do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And that's why every time you see them stories about somebody trying to rob somewhere, somebody was strapped up, nobody in that comment section says, why didn't you call the cops? Let the cops handle it. They say, glad you laid them down.
mhm, exactly.
That's the American way.
It's
Protect
important.
yourself.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm a big proponent of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Not only because it gives us the right to bear arms, but the way this government been acting, we may have to take up arms against them. That's why they're trying to take all our guns.
Exactly. And people really need to look at countries where that has occurred, like Australia, and
Mm-hmm.
how their government has just been able to run roughshod on them because they don't have any weapons. That's why all those things are happening over there. If people had weapons over there, their government would not try it. Period.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
But, simple critical thinking life lessons they don't ever want to expound upon.
True. Very true.
Yes. Now, lastly, you brought up marijuana legalization,
Yes.
the favorite of the new Democrats that are trying to run. Why
Hmm.
can't black people just smoke weed and be happy? No, you want us dumb. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You want to regulate the weed so you know where it comes from and how it affects us. If
Right.
you're really about that weed life, this is what you say. Let black people smoke their own weed, get it from where they're from. It should not be on us to police them where they get it from.
Hmm. Yep. I just want
Unless
people to
they
be able
have
to
a
grow.
unless they have a license
Hmm.
that they get from the state.
Right. Well, I want it to be like a tomato or kale. You can just grow it in your own backyard. It's yours. So that you
Exactly.
know where it comes from, what's in it, and what's going on with it. Because whenever the government, especially the US government, touches something, there's always going to be something else added to it, or it's
Mm-hmm.
modified. And we don't know, but 5 years down the road, it's like, oh, yeah, that new plant that came out. Oh, sorry, it causes cancer. What?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, I can't wait to when I hear in a few years about these strains.
Yeah, yeah. And with the bill that they have currently right now, HR 3617, they want to legalize it at the federal level, and that's where it needs to be legalized because unfortunately, and this is something that Stacey Abrams brought up during her campaign, and it makes sense. She wouldn't want to legal in Georgia because it's still illegal at the federal level. And so the concern was, there would be, unfortunately, freedmen disproportionately arrested for cannabis, even though it would be legal at the state level. So it needs to be legal at the federal level and the state. And
Right.
the US government just needs to take their hands off of it because they've always tried to figure out a way to monetize it. And they see that, okay, it can be monetized, but they're still holding that carrot out there because once they do that, okay, now we can no longer disproportionately arrest people that have unfortunately been slave labor in some states because of this exact situation. So it is definitely one of those laws that we have to look at and go, okay, let's pass it. Yeah, somebody's going to be losing some money on the
Hey,
back end, but figure out a new way to make money.
hey, Madam President,
Yes.
would you like to hear something funny?
Huh.
I got a Warnock dude at the door.
You are kidding me.
I'm dead serious. Hold on, I'm gonna put the mic over there. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. I turned my computer off.
No worries. Yeah, so like I said, we're just talking to folks about the election. We're actually campaigning for Raphael Warnock, and yeah, just trying to get out the vote, basically. Were you planning to vote?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go tomorrow morning.
Advance
I mean
voting
Tuesday.
is,
Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah, that's right, yeah. Do you know where to go, or where you're gonna be going?
Yeah, I have to go to Avondale School.
Yeah, that's right, Avondale. Yeah, that's great, okay, awesome. Yeah, so just on election day, make sure you bring an umbrella, because it's gonna be kind of wet out there. And then, other than that, we're doing voting plans, so like I can text you the information on where to go, if that'd be helpful, but no pressure there. Yeah.
I'm still kind of confused though.
Yeah, cool.
This guy, Warnock.
Yes, sir.
How is he on reparations? Because I hear like two different things on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real with you, not the best. He's not the best on reparations.
Right.
He's like broadly supportive, but he's in this kind of sort of institutional democratic thing
like,
where they're kind of hands off on that, which
right,
is
like my wife and daughter, they're descendants of slaves, and
Yes.
I need to make sure with her and me
Yeah.
if that's the correct way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: Herschel Walker is definitely not in favor of reparations.
Right.
So, I mean, it's unfortunately where it's one of these races where, like, the situation, if I could frame it from my perspective, it's like with Warnock, you have somebody who's going to kind of push for healthcare, push for cost of living stuff, trying to bring down inflation in the way that Biden has been doing. And trying to push on some of these social issues, but at the end of the day, Democrat, which means they're never radical enough, frankly. And then with Walker, you have somebody who's going to be pushing for the defunding of all those same things, and also is a pretty out there guy in terms of being.
I ain't got it. We ain't gonna win in this state regardless, but
We can go in how?
like whoever we pick, I mean.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm so like I said, I'm from the unions, right? And we organize year round. That's our bit. Like this is one thing we do, but yeah, I'm big on trying to work on other things because electoralism is one thing, but there's a lot of other stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's it's fun. We're getting the hard questions today. Yeah, reparations.
I mean,
really is
you're
something
gonna
that's-
because it's especially with a lot of the black grassroots. A lot of them are pushing everyone to talk about every issue, not just like the things that you hear on the mainstream. So, but
Well, and I guess I'd say this. I mean, I think when it comes to reparations, Warnock might be movable. I don't know how movable, mind you. That's like a
he
tactical
only gonna
conversation.
move the way Biden moves. So
Well, yeah. I mean, but he knows he doesn't get the same kind of. His base is different, right? So it's a bit. I think I don't know. But then again, I should be completely honest. I'm coming from Arizona, so I don't know the exact specifics of the dynamics of how Warnock relates to reparations and also his push.
it hasn't been favorable.
I can't imagine it was. He's a pretty straight ahead, kind of old school guy in a bunch of ways, right? So, yeah. Unfortunately, I can't promise that in good conscience because personally, I think that's really important, and personally, I think that should be more pushed. But I don't know if Warnock's necessarily going to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we got a decision to make.
Yeah,
for
fair enough.
Tuesday,
The other thing I'll mention is just that it's going to be tight. I know it's not. I mean, it's going to be like about 2,000, 3,000 votes one way or the other.
Right.
So, that's the other bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think I already mentioned the voting plan thing. So, anything else I could chat to you about with Warnock? Or?
No, that was it. I mean, I've been looking at this race since the early part of the year, so I basically have all the information I need just now.
Yeah.
Sitting down with her and figure out who the best person is to vote for.
Yeah. Do you know what's being done around? I mean, because like I said, I'm from out of state. So do you know what's being done around reparations here in terms? I'm sure there's a bunch.
I mean, I know there's a task force they're trying to put together.
Yeah.
I know that, and we have a lot of freedmen down here that are organizing in different cities, like here, Macon.
Yeah.
Down further down south. I know I have a friend out in Savannah. He does YouTube, and he's been pushing for it as well. So we're pretty much covered down here, but we kind of need that legislative boost.
Yeah, because I mean the reparations thing, like it relies on getting stuff out of the government, right? Yeah,
Right.
You're trying to get them to do the right thing, which is always hard. So.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really trust the government that much, and because right now, I mean, the best thing we're probably gonna have to do is get our own candidates in there.
Yeah.
So we're kind of looking at that right now for 2026 and 28. So
Yeah.
but
Maybe municipally, right? I mean, those sometimes those ones are a little easier to kind of get in on, right? If you can run those candidates.
yeah,
Yeah.
because they'll have more support. But
Exactly. And then you've got city budgets at a minimum, if not federal ones, right? So.
well, we're doing everything local, state, and federal. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good luck, man. I seriously hope that happens.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll pray for y'all out there in Arizona. Y'all got a shit show going down.
Oh, that's a whole other,
Yes, sir.
Fucking,
All right, stay safe out there.
All right, family, y'all got an exclusive. That's hilarious. That was funny. I don't know if you're still there. Hello? Damn it. Did I click off? Or is it me? All right, family. I don't know what happened. I hope my mic didn't go out. Well, it didn't go out. It would have told me it went out. But yeah, I just finished talking with someone who is campaigning for Warnock, part of the unions. Yeah. Oh, it's funny how things work. And now they're not letting Ashaki back in. This is hilarious. Okay, wait, I might have gotten her. Are you there?
1 second. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, I had to go out and go back in. It had frozen. But yes, I heard what was said. And he definitely gave a political answer, which was to give no answer.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go off for a second. Go ahead.
Okay. But he answered it the way you're going to get most answers from most politicians. They're not going to give you a direct answer. And on the one hand, I do appreciate that, because I would rather someone tell me I don't know and I need to look into it, as opposed to trying to give me an answer to appease me. So I do appreciate his honesty in that respect. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of politicians who try to avoid this conversation. They don't want to answer it because it's a taboo almost to touch it or go near it. Some people see it as political suicide, unfortunately, and it's not. It really isn't.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hey, did you tell me you loved the part where he said, everybody's been asking me about that?
Yeah, because that's the first thing on everybody's list. It's like, okay, what are you going to do for me? Because we're finally at that crossroads as voters that we know we deserve tangibles. What are you going to do for me? Not what you're going to do for the corporations, not what you're going to do for my local government or my state government. What are you going to do for me specifically? Because my vote is what gets you there.
Right.
And
he was advocating on behalf of the unions too, so that was even better.
Yeah.
So they know. They know.
Yeah. They understand. They get it.
But I love how he came all the way from Arizona to tell me this.
Right. It's like, huh?
Arizona?
What are you doing in Georgia?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Got it. Appreciate you.
But it makes sense because I saw somebody on Twitter say they were in a whole nother state and they said Warnock was sending out text messages to donate to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What that?
But this isn't the first time this happened, because I was streaming last week too and somebody came to the door. I didn't record it then, but I was like, I should have recorded it. I said, the next time somebody recording it, and there we go. And he working hard on a Sunday, boy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But oh, so I have to go against somebody who's ran over his ex-wife's foot, or somebody who says first of all every other sentence.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's all
Yep.
good. It's all good. But let's get back to this. Where were we? Oh yeah, marijuana. Now you said you want the part that says it directs the Government Accountability Office to study the societal impact of state legalization of recreational cannabis.
Yeah. So basically, they're just trying to figure out, in layman's terms, would it be the same as you drinking so much alcohol? Does it lower your ability to make spot one decisions? From what
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, I grew up with individuals that partook in that, not me personally, but individuals around me. And a lot of times they weren't like so quick to jump in the car or to go somewhere, because this is, from what I experienced, it was just something to do to unwind, relax. You know what I'm saying? It's not something to do and then go out and drive a car. So their study, on one hand, it's like, okay, this is great, but you already have these studies. This chemical, or this, brand of herb has been studied since maybe the early 40s, and how it affects the human body, human nature, and all of these other things. Right now, we're looking at, should it be legalized because it grows naturally, as opposed to being chemically made in a lab and made to do other things. There are, like the cocoa bean that is turned into cocaine, that derivative, yeah, that unfortunate drug does something very illicit, and it will drive people to kill other people if it's mixed with other things. So it is dangerous. So I understand why it is considered a narcotic. Marijuana does not do that. And it can also be used for medicinal purposes. So therefore, we need to just take it off of the narcotics list. And that's what I would be pushing for. So that way, the states that have legalized it, there's no more a concern about individuals being arrested for the possession of it at any level.
Mm.
Yeah. And it would also open up a new market for individuals to have businesses as well. So,
You know they don't lie to that.
of course not, because that doesn't keep you enslaved. We
Yes,
have
ma'am.
a perpetual slavery mill in this country, and a lot of people don't see it. Right now, we're in digital slavery, where if
Mm.
you can get kicked off of a platform, you can have your bank account taken away, you can have services refused at a digital level, and that's slavery. Whenever you can control someone else's life in any form or fashion, that is slavery, because that other person has to succumb to you in order to have the ability to survive or live. And it needs to stop.
Yeah.
Slavery ended, as per what a lot of people like to say. Well, slavery is over. No, it's not. Never has been. It's just not been in bondage. And people do not see the bondage because it's not in physical chains or with physical whips, because it's mental, it's digital, it is in how we work, how we live, where we have the ability to go. COVID 2 years ago taught me a lot. It taught me that at any point in time, unfortunately, the US government can shut it down without any pushback from the community. Now, it happened once. It could happen again, unfortunately, because they are training people that it's okay and that they should accept it. Luckily, there are people pushing back on it, but there's got to be a lot more people that open up their eyes to it. It's slavery, and you need to see it for what it is, and you need to call it for what it is, and demand your government to stop being tyrannical the way they've been. So that's why I'm running, because nobody's
Yes,
talking
ma'am.
about this. Nobody wants to say the uncomfortable things.
Yes, ma'am. All right. I think we came to the end of it. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So that is your policy and platform.
Yeah.
All right. So before we go, I appreciate the conversation. Appreciate it. Because we need more. We need more diversity on stage and more
Yeah.
diversity of thought.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
if you have time, I do have one other thing to do
Okay.
with you.
Go ahead.
I have this game called 10 Random Questions where it's more of a personality thing to let the audience know more about the guests. 5 questions that are tailor made to you, and they come after 5 questions that are asked of everybody just to establish a baseline. But I always have to ask, would you like to play 10 random questions?
Sure. Why not?
Cool. All right, folks, we're going to get into 10 random questions. All right, so like I said, the first 5 questions are general questions, just establish a baseline, and 5 are curated directly to you. So for the first one, I hate asking this question, but I have to ask it anyway. Are you team Apple or team Android?
I am team Android. I want to be team a encrypted phone because there are US phones that they make. I've just been looking to make the transition probably later this year, early next year, but it's Android based. I am not team Apple because their headquarters is in China, and that's who's actually running Apple right now because of the discount, I should say, that they get to have their manufacturing there because the Chinese government allows such a low percentage of what Apple makes or does to go back, that they're charged as a company. So that allows the government to have a say in what their company actually does. So when a lot of times people will hear, well, Apple's run by China. Well, they're not wrong on that. So that's a lot of why.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Question number 2. What is your favorite TV show?
Ooh, people are going to be shocked and surprised.
Say it.
It's actually South Park. I enjoy South
What's
Park.
wrong with South Park? There's nothing wrong with South Park.
I enjoy
You
South Park,
grew
but
up on South Park.
I know I don't watch it all the time, but it is one of my. If I'm gonna sit down and watch TV, like I'm watching South Park or Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives, because my husband and I, when we're traveling, we like to go visit the different restaurants. It's almost like a scavenger hunt for us. But I would say, yeah, South Park is my favorite show. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm listening to the news all day long.
So you have deranged humor. That's all good. Ain't nothing wrong with
They
that.
tell they you know what, they tell the truth in such an extreme way that you're like, whoa, but you're kind of not lying. But
Yeah,
it's
they're
extreme.
this right. They're the extreme form of the Simpsons.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, don't ever be ashamed of watching South Park. Um, let's see. Question number 3. Your favorite music genre?
Hmm. Wow. So I have kind of two. I like jazz music, and more so, I would say contemporary jazz, like lo-fi jazz
Okay.
music, and I also like gospel music, gospel contemporary Christian music as well.
Cool. Okay. Number 4, your favorite musician.
Oh wow. Okay. Favorite musician. I would have to say Stevie Wonder. He is his music is something I was raised on, and his music is very timeless. You could play lately, and someone would think it had just been recorded today because it still fits. It still works. It's not dated. So I definitely enjoy him. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Now, number 5. You're sitting at a table and you can speak to one person for an hour. Who would it be?
Hmm. That. I mean, don't laugh when I say this, but I'd like to sit down with Jesus for an hour
You're not the
and
first
just,
person that said that.
I would want to just ask him about things that maybe were said and spoken that aren't written. Because obviously, if you were to capture every word, yeah, that'd be great. But there may have been something that was missed, and maybe some piece of advice that he would want to give me that wasn't written, or maybe something he would want to say, a question that I had too. Because, of course, I have a question about snow. It's cold, and I have a problem with it. So I know that's a silly question, but it'd be one of the ones I would ask.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Now, here's the 5 questions that are curated to you. Number 6.
Okay.
If you could vote any person, not including the president, out of office, who would it be?
Vote them out of office?
Yeah. It can't be the
Ooh.
president.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Oh, gosh, there's so many. I would definitely vote Kamala Harris out of office. I do not see her doing her job. I see her hiding out so she doesn't do anything wrong, but I don't see her doing what needs to be done, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I hear you. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
She was a diversity hire.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to hell for that, but it's okay. It's okay. We gonna do it for the family. We gonna do it for the family before we go on to question 7. Just to remind you, this is probably one of the main reasons why Mrs. Nichols does not want Kamami to serve in any more capacity.
Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. Let's be.
No. Right. Okay, ma'am. You got it. You go somewhere with your life. While the illegals come near your doorstep.
Yeah.
Kamami. Anyway, question 7. What do you think is an appropriate amount for a total bill on reparations?
So when you say a total amount, are you talking about the amount due?
That's including everything. Money, cash, legislation, everything. What would be the economic cost of that?
Yeah, because I know the amount it's in well over the teens of trillions. So I know it is well over 25 trillion, just to give a ballpark. When you include healthcare, education, rehabilitation, housing land, you're probably going to be closer to, near $100 trillion. What people need to understand is that there is a judgment fund that exists for most atrocities done in this country, where there is an unlimited amount of money that wouldn't even affect the taxpayers of this country. And that's where reparations would be paid from. Politicians do not talk about this fund, but it does exist. And if you just do a simple Google search and type in judgment fund, anybody can see it, because anything our government does still has to be transparent. And you'll find funds in there for Native Americans. You'll find a fund in there for the U.S. Housing Authority, among other groups or companies or situations that have happened in our country where there has been a judgment established against the United States, where that fund is paid out of. So that's where it would come from. It would not be put on the burden of the American taxpayer, because the whole point of getting reparations is to get that money back and then eject it into our economy and build up American freedmen along with the rest of the United States. Because anything that will be established by those freedmen and put into the economy, automatically people are going to benefit from it. So there's going to be a benefit all the way around, but it has to start somewhere.
Cool. All right. Number 8. Who would be, if you could pick anybody to be your vice president, who would it be?
Wow. Anybody. Wow. Ooh. You know, I've actually thought about this. I was thinking, and I know Dr. Boyce, he doesn't want to have anything to do with politics, but he'd be great. But maybe Dr. Ben Carson would be a good vice president, in my opinion.
Okay.
Only because he has gotten the opportunity to get his feet wet within the political arena and serve with Trump and see things at that level. That would be one individual that I would consider.
Okay. That's going to be a very controversial pick, but this is your pick. So y'all don't get upset. Number 9. One event or experience that left a lasting impression on you.
Yep. I would say 9/11. It left a lasting impression on me because I saw how our government was able to use fear to control people. I saw how the federal government used fear to put laws into place to erode our Constitution, to take away the rights of American citizens out of fear in exchange for protection. However, it's worked against the American people, and it has only gotten worse since 2020. And again, it all goes back to slavery. And it also pertains to war against the American people, because if you can take somebody's ability to move, communicate, or defend themselves, those are acts of war. So 9/11 definitely left an impression upon me.
All right. And last question. Question 10. One piece of advice you can give to the Black grassroots.
I would say don't give up. Do not let people tell you it can't be done. Do not let people try to discourage you from speaking the truth, to stop you from fighting for reparations or whatever issue you have a passion for. Do not let people discourage you from running for office. I've had several people tell me, why don't you just run for mayor? Why are you running for president? And I'm running for president because I'm not going to stand by and allow my house to be burned down and complain about it and still see no one else stand up and do anything about it. I'm not going to do that. I'm not built that way. Maybe you're built that way. I'm not built that way. And I'm going to keep fighting until I get what I want. That's how I'm built. You know, yeah, people are going to slam doors in my faces and people are going to try to hurt my feelings and things are going to be said about me that I know aren't true. And that's well, fine and good because I know where I stand and I know who I am. But don't ever let anybody discourage you from doing what's right and forging forward.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And that has been another edition of 10 Random Questions. All right, folks. We're going to get up out of here, but I do have one last question for you.
Sure thing.
How do you feel about the situation that's been going on the last few weeks with all these bootleg media personalities trying to establish themselves for massa?
Can you be a little bit more specific?
Well, basically with what Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley did with Kyrie Irving advocating for him to get suspended.
Oh,
Now we have Stephen A. Smith with the Jerry Jones thing and threatening new black media and the black grassroots because we said the truth about him.
yeah.
Things of that nature.
Okay. Well, what I have to say about Kyrie is very unfortunate what happened to him, and it should not have happened. He has the right of free speech. And the way they came after him was the same way you would come after somebody who's a slave, right? You're going to shut down their speech. You're going to shut down what they can say, what they can't say, how they should say it. Hey, you have to pull back. We don't talk about, people that own us. And it should not have happened. He did not do anything wrong. He posted a link to a movie he saw and said, what do you think? He did not say anything disparaging about anyone. As far as with Stephen A. and Jerry Jones, Stephen A. He's invited. He has freedom of speech to say what he wants, but don't come after other individuals for it. We all have our freedoms of speech, but once you go after people, they're going to come back after you. Be ready for, as they say, that smoke. Be ready for that to come back to you. The good thing that's happened with Kyrie is born out of that. We now have the Anti-Black Defamation League that's been started by Brooke Sinclair. And I'm actually assisting with that organization to bring to the forefront other items that we're putting on the agenda that have gone after individuals within the freedom community with free speech, or whether it might be physical harm, to bring light to it and to propose damages that have been done against our community, very similar to the way the ADL performs. So right now we're in the position to say, you know what, we've had enough. You're going to stop it, and we're going to call you to it. It had been different if the ADL said, this is what he specifically said, this is what we find issue with, and this is why. They never did that. They just said it's anti-Semitic, he can't say that. Well, what did he do? They don't ever want to come up with the why. They just want to bring down the hammer. And that's slavery. You're not going to crack that whip against our brother. We will not allow it.
Yes, ma'am.
So.
All right. I appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. And as it gets closer, we will have you back on as it
Okay.
gets closer because yeah, we need to make sure we get as many candidates out there as we can.
Yes, yes.
We need
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me tell you where to find me.
yes,
So
ma'am. Go
my
ahead.
website is www.nichols4president.com, and that's FOR with Nichols for President. I'm also going to be on Fanbase, Six Zeros, Social, Rumble, Gab, and Getter. I'm currently on Facebook and Twitter, but I'm going to be leaving those platforms, so you won't see me on those two platforms, but you will see me on the other platforms that I mentioned.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us and telling the family more about your platform. And we're going to get up out of here, folks. So take care, stay safe, and y'all know what to do when the Hulists come and try to tell you that you don't deserve reparations and you should just work hard. You know what to do.